SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess, hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to the 2020 edition of the US Open for the SmashFactor. Up here as usual. Action-packed pod today. Going to kind of get right into it. A lot to cover, a lot of angles, a lot of strategy. Unique setup where we are anticipating kind of similar to a few weeks ago where tough scoring for the most part. This will most likely be even more tough scoring than what they had probably in the last many years. So with that and kind of understanding the game of draft, more so DraftKings, but any kind of DFS game in general, how does that change our strategy and what are some of the things that I picked up on doing the research last night, today, and long week ahead as far as getting content out, kind of trying to angle and figure out what we can do, especially looking at the Corn Ferry and, overseas Euro guys that haven't played a lot over here lately. I'll manually adjust them as we climb closer to the final rankings with, doing the research and diving into how they've been playing on their respective tours. Because for the most part, today's rankings and the deep dive are just based off the PGA statistical models and stuff we have. So, you can't really do much until you manually just go, all right, where do you think these guys are going to fit in and what's their upside? There's tons of information there. I'll have Kenny Kim on Wednesday for E9. It's always action-packed when he's on there. I expect that to be a awesome night, not only there, but in Slack as we get closer and closer to tee time on Thursday. Last week was, I didn't watch a ton of the golf. Obviously, I was at the member guest most of the week. I did watch Sunday as I was watching NFL. Another 2-3%, 6-6 week. I expect that or worse this week. This week is T60 in ties, so it's even lower than what we've been adjusted to with the T65. It's 143, 144 guys, I believe, in the field. Scheffler withdrew, so I think maybe it's 143 now. I don't know, somewhere right around there. So way less than half the field will probably make the cut. Doc caught fire. You gotta enjoy seeing that on Sunday. That was kind of, obviously I'm a huge Doc fan, but always like to see him go low. Wish he was in the field this week. His game's kind of on fire and right there. I hit the Degali and Batia top 20s. Degali, both of them kind of flirted with top 5 some of the day on Sunday. I was hoping that Degali would get in there for the 45-1 payoff, but them hitting the top 20s alone, I believe broke us out probably even or maybe even head on the week. Haven't done the recap yet because with Monday Night Football now, I do all the betting recap on Tuesday if I have a Monday night play, which I do tonight, and I released it earlier. If you missed it, go check it out on the site. Also put together an article since I have a 2-game slate tonight on Monday Night Football. I broke that down and kind of my thoughts and opinions there. I play Showdown and there's strategy to be had there, and contemplating how I want to attack that with the community, the premium community, because it's so much numbers. If you're doing a single entry or 1 to 3 max, maybe even cash, there's a little bit of a strategy there you can get to. But if you're doing anything that's got and you're not leveraged to the field, it's a huge downside. In my opinion, if it's a 20 max and you put in 5, especially if they're big fields, NFL is just such big fields. It's difficult to compete in those. College football, different story. I think we can take some of Bobby's information and then just general in the Slack and all that, what we get, and still compete in some of the showdowns. But a 2-game slate I like much more, and they have big pots for it tonight. So I went ahead and put the article out there. If you're catching this before game time, you can go read that, or I'll post it in the Slack if you missed it on the website. Before we jump into US Open talk, as always, Super Draft's our 2020 site sponsor. Go click the link on gupscorner.com/affiliate. you will get 50% match up to your $1,000 match. So put $1,000 in, get $500, put $100 in, get $50. A little bit of a slow drip there. Getting it back, meaning, put the action in play. But, if you play there enough, and we seem to have an advantage for the most part, especially most of our focus is on NFL right now. The golf contests were small. I hadn't looked at this week's yet, but we did our NFL content last week, and we'll continue that. And if they get the contest up in golf respectable enough, we'll put some time into getting information out there as well. 25% off with football 25 right now. We'll run that all through this week as well, since we got the U.S. Open going. A lot of people maybe now jumping into NFL. I know some of the people that I discussed with didn't play too much last week because just so much unknown. We kind of wanted to see a week shake out before they dip their toes in. Obviously, there's plenty of people that played, but there were some that went lighter than normal. So hopefully get some of that attention back on that. College football has got its biggest slate of the year on Saturday so far. And then next week, the conference play starts again, big time conference play. So excited for all that stuff going on. NBA playoffs going on, MLB's, hot and, going straight, getting closer to their postseason, which seems like crazy, but they're already halfway through. Todd and D are doing a good job in there. So action packed all throughout the site, Slack and all that, so if you're not in, you want to come join us. The Green Machine now has NFL and college football, making some tweaks, and just like we did with when the golf came out, getting it kind of prettied up more than anything. The functionality behind it, the base is there, and then we'll keep adding to it the stackability stuff and rules like that as we continue to grow that product. And the football tools, we'll start getting out the foundation pieces in the next day or two. Now that we have week 1 data, we had the last year's data still up there. So you could go back and look at any 2019 stuff you wanted to, but now that we have full slate NFL week 1, we'll get a couple of our big pig tools, the basis of it out, and we're going to continue to grow that product as we march through the year. This year we're building it in house and a new foundation this year. So we'll roll stuff out, ask for feedback, see what's important, and you guys help us decide what you think is the most important when it comes to those products. So we're looking forward to hearing the feedback there as we roll those out. Listener League it's out right now. I just got it, so I hadn't posted it. He sent it a little late today, but he did send the NFL and the golf one. So I'll roll both those out today. It'll be in the podcast. The golf one will be in the podcast here. Had our first winner last year of the new season, Bagger Advance. I've already created the league for the Listener League winners, invited him, and he's already accepted. So each week that we have a Listener League, those winners will all go into that pot, if you will, and then we'll have a big tournament, kind of seeing if the schedule stays as so, we'll do it later on in the year next year, and have a big prizes and stuff to give away with that. His team, Steele, HV3, Davis, Glover, Ventura, and Hadley, pretty good team overall. Kind of it was crazy that I talked to Ventura so much, and I didn't bet him, but he wouldn't have came through anyways. But I was going to be frustrated if he came through. Because I thought I had bet him, and when I go back to look at the card, I was like, man, how did I miss him? I liked him so much. Had pretty good amount of him. I had way over the field on Thigali and Batia, but it was a tough week. I mean, I had my single entry was 4-6, and it flirted into the cash for most of Sunday, and then the last 4 or 5 holes, I literally bubbled by 1 or 3 points in every single entry I was in. So it was frustrating. And then the big GPPs just finished average. So slight loss in the week there. But tough week in general with those kind of fields, and just taking them on. Community seemed to do well, which that's always good to see. So it pretty much wraps up Safeway. Not much more to say there. We're going to roll on into the U.S. Open now. Obviously, Wingfoot, West Course. There's 2 courses there, so it is the West Course. Kenny Kim will have a full course preview out on the site, and he also leads off his pod with some of that. He has the updated premium content included in the site, and then adds to it on Wednesday if you want to come check that out. He does a great job doing that. So the cut here, I'll talk a little bit about the prior tournaments, and my rankings have them, the prior U.S. Open. So the last 4 is Pebble, Shinnecock, Erin Hills, and Oakmont. And then they're decent enough, not many guys that are still playing from 06, but it sounds like the course may play somewhat similar, or at least difficult, maybe not quite. Maybe the talent level of the field, A to Z, is stronger, that it won't play that bad. Plus technology and all that kind of stuff. But you're still gonna have to hit fairways, and if you are longer, it's better in general, right? But the fairways tend to actually get narrower at this course. This course I played last week, the member guest, is a AW Tillinghast course, and my original course I was a part of in Tulsa for 8 years or whatever was AW Tillinghast course. So I'm very familiar with that style. Up in Tulsa where I was, big oak trees, very small postage stamp musters, or posted stamp greens, undulated, quick, thick rough around the greens, a lot of bunkers protecting the greens. And the thick rough's the biggest part of it, especially approaches coming in, because we've seen it all over there, and you're going to keep hearing it. It's like, all right, so where's the line between, we want guys that can get it down there farther enough and guys that can hit fairways, because it is a long course. It's going to play long. Hopefully we get enough of the blended information and data that we can, rock out some good rankings and kind of discuss through it. The cut, like I said, in 2006 was +9. T60 made the cut. So 63 actually made the cut that year. There's no 10-shot rule on this. So it's literally T60 and ties, whether it be 78 guys or 61 guys. And it doesn't matter what first and 60th place is. So not a concern there. The winning score was +5 back in 2006. This is, if you're not familiar or don't remember, this is where Phil doubled 18 to lose it. Ogilvy won. The interesting thing, and this is kind of blending strategy plus just information and knowledge and how we approach the week. So I think this week is certainly, you still have to get your player pool right and kind of figure out what kind of guy I want to target. But in doing that, let's think about the strategy that goes into it, at least in my opinion. In general, you've had Tiger win 4 or 5 U.S. Opens, Retief Goosen, and at that time, remember, he was, I don't know if he was top 5 probably in the world. I was actually around that time, at least, because it was in, at Southern Hills. Furyk won, Goosen's won again. Ogilvy won in 2006, like I mentioned. Lucas Glover, Graham McDowell, Rory, and then so starting in like 2011, it's been pretty steady with Rory, Webb, Rose, Keimer, Spieth, DJ, Brooks, Woodland. So all very good golfers. Last year was not the typical. They just didn't really get the weather to make Pebble play as hard as they would have wanted. It was -13 won it. Similar 3 years ago at Erin Hills, -16 won it. But 2 years ago at Shinnecock, it was +1 that won. And then 4 years ago, DJ won at Oakmont, it was -4. So if you want to kind of look at some of those years as harder playing style courses, DJ's clear the favorite. I wouldn't say clear, but he is the favorite. Great. He played well at Oakmont. He played well, when the tough courses this year. His game suits this in a sense. I think he's been set up to play this well. So interesting to see how we want to handle the pricing and what does that matter. So the one thing that I assume will probably get talked about in the industry, I hadn't listened to anything yet. Obviously just been grinding, getting caught up from being gone for a few days. But I think I remember last year, or not even last year, but the last we've had at least 2 Erin Hills for sure, I remember. And then even some of the tough tournaments we've had lately where, you're like, well, how does this impact scoring? And, in DK, it's really a lot of the points, or not a lot, but some of the points can come from finishing positions and streaks and stuff. You're not going to see that much this year. Finishing position is going to be massive. Obviously, if you have a big birdie or better type tournament going on, sometimes people can just outscore their position more often than not, but the total percentage of that points earned from the player is smaller than what it will be this week. And then I think what the risk reward is as well, maybe if I get a 5 or 6 through, and I think I have heard one thing about that, they won't, outscore. Maybe a guy sitting out the weekend won't get outscored by a guy that makes the cut because it plays so hard. I doubt that. I just did a little math, and so the worst score 2006 on the weekend only was plus 16. So in my mind, just simplistically, 16 bogeys, 20 pars, there's probably some doubles and birdies in there to come out to, but overall that shot plus 16. So let's just do a simple version of that. Well, that's still a net 2 points. Plus, if they finish top 50, they get a point on DK. So that's still 3 positive points. Now, technically, I guess, could someone who gets an eagle that misses the cut somehow, or maybe gets a couple birdie streaks or misses the cut somehow, outscore someone? Yes, technically. Is that something that I'm really kind of thinking about? Not directly like that. If you take the average of everybody that made the cut in 2006, it was 7.4, was over par. So let's just round down 7. Well, that gives us 7 bogeys and 29 pars. Again, you're going to mix and match birdies and bogeys and doubles and all that in there, but just for simplistic version, well, now that's 11 points plus finishing spots on the weekend. Not everybody can finish 50th. There's still going to be guys. I said on the betting pod earlier that T20 last year, which was actually T16, was plus 11. Then T21 was plus 12 for the overall tournament. And so where I don't really care about that part of the scoring. Where it matters is it may be beneficial or advantageous to try to get 2 of these big boys in a lineup and take a risk on a lower price guy or 2 of them, because the total finishing points, if you get DJ Rom or DJ X and they go first and third, all those finishing points, even though you get a guy that maybe misses the cut or he finishes 55th or 45th, the total points available to you're projected for these teams this week. And I'm going to go into this more in some content that we'll put out, and then definitely E9. When you think, I've already built some of it today. I don't have it all ready, and it'll be a premium member content only. We got to give those guys an advantage. They're paying us. No offense. If you're not, football's 25, sign up now. But it makes you go, all right, I may want to try to get as many of these power guys as I can in as many multiple lineups, and then just pick. I wouldn't spread out way too far, but pick your lower price guys that you want to try to just mix and match in there, and take a chance that one of those hits, especially if you're doing a GPP. I think it's more of an MME GPP type week this week, just because so much vulnerability of the course and difficulty. There's going to be great players, quote unquote, based on OWGR, whatever, elite players miss this cut. There's no doubt about it. Some not all of them are going to make it. Especially I would implore this strategy even more so, I think, in 1 and 3 max stuff. I don't think I want to get too cute. I'd rather either be super balanced and hope I get, a good chunk of those guys through that can all score. But you're still, even if you do that, I'm not as in favor of, because unless you have a super balance with huge upside of some of those guys finishing in the top 10, you may get outscored with the 6 of 6 that all got through. But if you fade DJ Rom and JT and try to go balance, and those guys finish 1, 2, and 5, someone's going to have the combinations out there and figure it out. And those finishing points mean so much more in this type of environment that you may be better off trying to bring some of these lower guys in. And we'll talk about that as we get through it, but it's one way to think about it. There's certainly some different ways to look at it. And maybe you do get conviction enough to say, I think Matsu can win this week at 9,000. I think Berger could win this week at 9,200. I think Hatton could win this week at 8,100, and you start getting enough of those guys, well, then that's fine, right? But you're also saying in the same breath that these top guys aren't going to finish top 10 or top 5, which may be worth the risk, and you decide to take that. But it's certainly a strategic week to think about all scenarios and kind of get deep and dive in that thought, and then put your pool together based on your thoughts on the overall way the story of the week's going to go, which we talk about a lot in any of our content. How's that going to play out? But more so this week, you can't there's not going to be like, oh, this guy's going to make a run and do well. Not if it's going to be this hard scoring, which it seems like it is. I mean, I think most people are going to project it to be over par. And with only potentially 60 of the whole field getting through, I think 6 of 6 could literally be 1% this week. So interesting week in that sense. I like it because it's a strategy point. It's something very out there to get into in the weeds with the community and the members, and I'm excited about that part of it. Weather concerns, nothing really. Chilly compared to maybe what some of these guys have been playing. I mean, I've been playing in 110 degree weather for a month, and here it's chilly, quote unquote. Not really chilly. It's just come down 20 degrees. It's in the 80s. But up there, it looks like you're gonna have some mornings, maybe in the high 40s, low 60s, midday at the most. Not just like, I think a little bit of rain, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and that's really it. It really looks nice, especially for up there at this time of the year. You know, if you're on a Tiger, I'm not know where I'm going to be there yet, but you got to see be concerned about the cold start and that kind of stuff. Weather wise, anybody with the back stuff, maybe they get, it's tough on them, and we've seen that before, but cut wise, I think it's going to play very close to last year. Maybe, so I'm going to go like it was +9. I think it's going to be about +7 is going to be the cut. 7 or 8 is what I'm going to predict. And I think the winner is going to be like +2. I think someone with overall length that you're getting now that the guys didn't used to get, there's more guys that can get that length, that it won't play overall is hard. Like if you take all the guys that made the cut and add up their totals over par, I think this year's will be slightly better scoring. Maybe someone breaks par over the 4 days and shoots -2 or -3, but I'm gonna go +1 for a winner right now. I already went through, that kind of most of that 2006 field. You can go look it up if you ever want to take a look at it. I took a look. So there's 40 guys that haven't played the Open in the last 4 years. So they're either making their debut or they hadn't played, since 2016. They may have played before. Maybe they couldn't qualify to get back in since then. And then there's 65 guys here. So another 25 that have played in the last 4 years, but have never made the cut. So we got 65 guys in the field that in the last 4 years have either never played it or never made a U.S. Open cut. Doesn't mean much, but I was counting it up and looking at it because I was seeing all the miscut. I was like, man, there's a lot of miscuts here. But it's a tough challenge. So anybody can do extremely well, then miss a cut. DJ won Oakmont and then missed the cut at Erin Hills. So then he goes 3rd and 35th. So I mean, Brahms finished 23rd and 3rd and miscut. So I think a lot of people look at Schauffele, and he's had a 5th, 6th, and 3rd. So I think he's going to be popular. And I think he's the lowest priced in the 10K range. Or no, he's $100 more than Morikawa. So that's going to be interesting to see ownership wise. I'll get into the ownership part in just a second. Ranges 10K, we got 6 guys. 9K, we got 6 guys. 8K, we got 10 guys. 7K, we got 31 guys. 6K, we have 80 guys this week. And I mentioned Scheffler has withdrawn, which I'm sure everybody's heard by now. If you're new to the pod, I kind of formatted the Dirty Dozen. We got 4 tiers, 3 picks in each tier. And I've switched up the end of the pod, had good feedback on that after last week, that I do a last 4 out. I do some gut feel plays and potential maybe sleeper, lower own flyer type guys. Then we'll hit betting one and done and wrap it up. So first, as far as ownership goes in general, I think it's going to be even more important to take leverage spots where you can, because I think the predictability and the win equity that's a standard percentage that people talk about I don't know if they'll be as tight or as spread apart as normal. So I think we can get some guys that, if we believe in their game enough, or we believe in the total focus of the week, that may not technically have the win equity, but I'm getting half the ownership, and it's pretty much, right between the two. That's something I'm going to take really into consideration this week. And I'll put out that content for the premium members, because I'm going to have my plays that I like right now, and pretty much have that pretty standard. And then I'll probably try to do everything just a hair earlier Wednesday, so we have time to digest the ownership and stuff, because there may be guys I literally try to grab some of, because I said, yeah, he was a tier 3 for me compared to, tier 1, tier 2. But the ownership percentage on him is just giving massive leverage. And in this type of field and format, I'm willing to take that risk, and so it does matter. It's going to make things different come Wednesday, which is why it's all important, to be the premium members. And then Kenny and I have always done a great show together on E9. So I think it's going to be great. I think the community is going to have a huge advantage this week, and hopefully we crush. Dirty Dozen, first tier, 9K or above. DJ, I'm not going to get away from him. I don't know how hyped up he's going to be at the price. And maybe because of the stuff like I just said, people go, well, why pay up for that? Because there's no guarantee he does it. It's a great point. But if his ownership stays down, even though he's played lights out recently in the last month, and I think if you go, if you go back and watch some of his strategic playing off the tee, he's used the iron more at times. He's not been aggressive at times. He's trying to position himself. And then, when he ran away with the field at 30 under, the one thing that was hyped upon was how well he was positioning his ball on the green every time to be in the right spot of the green. And that is so crucial this week that I think that's something I like this week if he's really hitting it that well. Now, putting sometimes is shaky with him up and down, but these greens are so quick, so fast, so much undulation front to back or back to front in most cases, that positioning the ball is going to be just as important as anything. And pars are great this week. So if he can just get on there and he's just two putting all week long. I like his odds as great as anybody's. Obviously, that's why he's a favorite, but I'm going to go with DJ. I'm going to be on him. I mean, if he got super chalky, I don't want to play the highest guy in the most owned? Probably not, but I don't think he will. It's going to be spread out for the most part because there's so many options this week. And because he's the highest price, I think a lot of people will still go to Rahm, which I don't mind Rahm at all, but hopefully that keeps DJ's ownership down some. I actually like Schauffele, which I'm normally not a Schauffele guy in general. You can't deny what he's done the last 3 years in this type of format. In general, seems to be a guy that steps up to the plate on big time fields. He's number 1 in bogey avoidance for me, number 9 in good drive, 24 in great drive, which stat we have in our models that show basically it's not only length but the accuracy of your drive. He's across the board. He looks solid. He finished first, obviously, at the Tour Championship on the no stroke. So with starting from scratch. My biggest fear, and this will be the one I'm going to have to make a decision on Wednesday, is I assume he's just going to be super talked up in the industry and be one of the highest owned guys, especially out of the 10K range. Now, thankfully, Morikawa is right there at 10,000. We'll get to him in a little bit later, that I think will maybe keep some of that ownership off of him some, or maybe people just don't want to pay up this week as much because they're going to try to fit in as many names they know and good golfers instead of trying to drop down in the 6, where I do think there's tons of value. So I'm going to go Schauffele for now. I hope he doesn't get too chalky. And I don't mind getting overweight on that this week. And last for me is Matsu. I like the guy. Everybody knows I like him in general. Typically plays hard, tough courses, good. And he, this type of greens is actually his best putting splits. He's only 9,000, so I'm not paying super up on him. Could he shoot terribly and miss the cut? Absolutely. I mean, he has that blow up mentality, but he's been playing really good. Coming in, he's 11th in the field for me on recent form, 29th, a 3rd, and a 15th the last 3 tournaments. So I like Matsu at 9K, 7,600 to 8,900. First, Matthew Wolff. This is gonna be an iffy thing because no one was really on him forever, and I know the last few weeks he played, he started getting kind of hyped up. Then he gets a 44th at Northern Trust, maybe, and then a 16th at BMW, which not bad. It was a no cut event, but his stats and statistically he's 13th in the field and it's 7,700. I mean, I feel like it's a huge price for a guy that I think could legitimately be there on Sunday. Maybe he gets talked up in hype. I don't know. That'll be a decision Wednesday I get to, but I like Wolff this week. I think he'll be in good condition to play there. He's played tough course a lot. I mean, his home course in college was Carson Creek, which is a ridiculously tough course. So I like him this week. The next guy I kind of feel like Schauffele will probably get talked about is Reed. I've liked him. I played him so much that I'm not going to go away from him now. I was playing him when no one else would really play him, but got an 8th at the Tour Championship. I think he probably finished top 3rd or so, or top 3 or so with no strokes. Decent or pretty decent, U.S. Open rankings, miscut, and then 13th, 4th, and 32nd. He's a grinder. We know that. Think of the Ryder Cup, stuff like that. And I like this kind of setup for him because he doesn't ever seem to get out. Like when he misses a cut, even when he was kind of on a down streak, it was always like he was missing the cut on 18 on Friday. He's missing by 1 or 2. It wasn't just like completely blowing up. And so in a tournament that he could shoot +2 and be top 10 going into the weekend, I really like that mentality for him. The next one, I don't think will be talked up a lot. And I kind of had to deep dive some. The course, or not course history, the event history will probably lead some people onto him. But Fleetwood 8,900, I think the price is maybe a hair high based on he just hadn't played much, and when he hadn't done much. But maybe taking more of a long-term look at him is what keeps me on him. I know the deep dive, he's probably going to move down in my rankings a little bit just because he hasn't played much and hadn't played well, but a fourth, a second, then a 65th the last 3 years, finished better at the kind of more challenging course and the easier pebble. So he's a grinder type. He just has looked off, but I'm hoping maybe we catch him on the form starting to return type of deal. And maybe if he, when you're off sometimes and you feel like you got to shoot 18 under, I mean, that can probably be a wear out. Now, if you're off a little bit and you go, man, if I just par, that's great. I'm maybe picking up half a stroke on the field, and that maybe that mentality helps him going into the week. So I like Fleetwood. I don't think he'll be highly owned, especially that dollar amount. So maybe give me some leverage spot there as I'm eating chalk a little bit in other places. 7,500 or less. First, I like Kokrak, 6,800. He's sixth in my overall model. He hasn't played the last 2 years, but he played 2 U.S. Opens before that, made the cut on both of them, 37th and 53rd. So I like that. Last 2 tournaments, a 13th and a 6th. He's 7th in my stat model. Really good price for him. And at 6, to kind of give you some leverage in those fields. He's 18th in good drive, 6th in great drive, 4th in bogey avoidance. Like all those are my kind of big focuses. Stroke, gain, iron, and our tool set is a kind of a blend of approach and around the green. So that better half end of ball striking. Ball striking kind of looks at off the tee and approach. So this kind of looks at how are they hitting their irons, and if they happen to miss, how you would bring in the around the green as well, but we're not factoring in putting in this situation. It's just that iron stat. So that's really what I'm looking at this week. So at that price, I definitely feel comfortable with making that play. I mean, Kokrak's blown up many times on me before, so there's always risk there, but $6,800 seemed too cheap. A guy I didn't think I'd be on when I started building and looking at stuff last night, but Siwoo Kim, $7,200. My statistical model, he's 4th. He's 3rd in recent form. He has missed the cut the last 2 U.S. Opens, but he got 13th at Erin Hills, which, played a little difficult. That price really gets me I'll be able to play him because I don't mind going there, $7,200. All you need is a made cut in this type of event from him. And maybe gets not hot, but, grinds out, keeps going, stays alive. I like Siwoo Kim, 7,200. And last in this price range, Corey Connors. We all know Tee to Green is one of the best in the tournament. Putting's a little bit, I think, neutralized this week. You still want good putters. And he's certainly not in the top at all, but, maybe when he does 3-putt and stuff, he's not losing as much as he normally is when it's a birdie fest type event. He's 8th in the drive for me, 21st in stroke gain iron, 9th in accurate approaches, 24th in bogey avoidance. His only weakness is 3-putt avoidance, which I'm looking at my model as well. Last 2 tournaments, decent, 33rd and 25th. He's only played the one where he missed a cut at Erin Hills. So $6,900. So, another guy that I don't mind having in the pool, cheap priced. My flop this week, which this is going to have an asterisk on it because this is a guy that I fear will be someone I contemplate getting on Wednesday because I bet he's going to be like literally talked down in every platform you could think of, is DeChambeau. I haven't been on him. I made a ton of money at the Tour Championship on him. I think I literally bet against his daily matchup every day, and he lost every single one of them. He's just off. I don't know what it is. And when you get a guy like that that's that analytical and can't figure it out, I mean, he could maybe start overthinking stuff. Maybe the week off helped him. He could certainly go out there. And at 9,900, I don't see many getting there with the options around him. So, man, he could be like 4% or something crazy, maybe 7%. And you're like, it's in a GPP, especially if I wind up doing 150 max type deal. I don't know that I couldn't at least get 10, 11, 12% just in case he happens. And he has a pretty decent U.S. Open history, a 15th, a 25th, a 35th with one missed cut. So as far as return his value, I mean, based on everything I have, so it's just how he is right now, he's my flop of the week, no doubt. Could he be a leverage play if he's super low on? I'll go ahead and just say that on the pod now for people that may not be members. sure, he could be. It will take a lot for me to get to that, but that'd be the only thing. I think from that price point, he's a guy I think doesn't return his value the most this week. The fade for me is a guy I think will be, if it's not Shoffley, Morikawa to be the highest, one of the highest owns in the field at 10,000. He is literally the cheapest in that range. And because he's 10 and Shoffley's 10-1 is another reason why I think DeChambeau is going to go low owned, because I can't see many people going, oh, I'm going to pay, $200. I can pay $100 or $200 more, or even $200 less and get a Webb, who's solid right now, playing great in great form, has won a U.S. Open. That's why I think DeChambeau will keep going down. But my fade is Morikawa is strictly on an ownership deal. He's not the best in my stat model, the stuff I'm looking at. But he's a gamer. Like, he just seems to show up. And so I'm not against him at all. He 35th last year at Pebble. He got 6th at the Tour Championship, 20th at BMW. He's a guy, though, that isn't as good off the tee as some of these other guys. He's good enough for sure, and he's got it. But if he gets off a little bit, he's going to be testing it. And if he's off and back some, because he doesn't have as much power, his good drive, he's 66th in the field for me. And great drive, he's 75th in the field for me. So that worries me a little. The bogey avoidance, he's 59th. So some of these things just it gives me enough reason to say if he's going to be, which I assume, one of the highest owned guys at 10,000, can't play them all, right? We all like to play every guy, but you start doing that and you start spreading your pool out too thin. And so Morikawa is my fade this week. My sleeper, I kind of maybe I missed him in the betting pod, but I'm not so he's sleeper because of price. It's $6,900 less. It'd probably be talked up because he's all over the Corn Ferry a lot. But Will Zalatoris, $6,900 or $6,700, sorry. Just playing tremendous golf on the Corn Ferry, and people may go, well, he's on the Corn Ferry. But the only reason why he's probably still there is, and I think it is true, is that if it had been a normal season, I think he would have graduated and got his kind of that top 20. He would have played in the Safeway Open last week. I think that's 100% he would have, but because everybody got locked in and kind of grandfathered, he's kind of stuck until I don't know if he's got to win or what to get into the tour, but he should be on the tour at this point. He's playing that good. We'll see how he does. He did happen to play Shinnecock. He missed the cut, but I don't think anybody in the 6K, especially this big of a field, is going to get to 10%. He'll probably be one of the higher owned guys, but there's some of these big time or more known Euro guys as well that I'll take some of that ownership. O'Connor's, Kokrak. I mean, those guys that are tour kind of players will probably take some too. So I just don't see, too many people getting too high. So even if he's 7-8%, I don't mind playing that guy in this deal. So he's my sleeper of the week. Last four out that right there, I just couldn't fit in the prices. I like Sergio, mainly price. He hasn't done anything to impress me. He missed the cut, I think by 1 or 2. The cut was -5 last week. I think he shot -3 or -4. Last 3 U.S. Opens, a third, a 21st, a missed cut, and a 52nd. So I guess last 4. Stats wise, he's still there for me. He's 8th overall. The price at 7,500, I think, makes him a good, at least a GPP play. I don't see his game's not really just fire enough right now to, but he's a good ball striker, and I think he can keep out of trouble a lot. Maybe he sticks around. He's one of those guys that, maybe just he shoots 3 or 4 over, and he, hanging around on Sunday, top 20 and having a chance at doing something if things get crazy. But I'm not super, a single entry go all in on Garcia, but he was right there. Finau, he's an interesting one for me because the reason why I didn't make it for him is assuming he just always seems to get high ownership. 9,100, his recent form's okay. He got a 5th at the BMW, 17th at, Tour Championship. He's played 3 U.S. Opens, a miscut, a 5th, and a miscut. So hit or miss there. Price seems up maybe a little bit. If it was 8,500 Finau, I think it'd be super chalky. I don't think he'll be as chalky. So he's right there on the bubble for me as well. Berger was the next one, 9,200, right there around Finau's price. Similar, results, 37th miscut, 6th and 49th, but made 3 out of 4 U.S. Opens. His form is probably as good as it's been in his whole career. He's got a 3rd, a 25th, and a 15th. His last 3 out, but before that, he was even on fire more. So, stat model, he's 21st overall. So, I like him at 9,200. I don't think he'll really maybe get overlooked a little bit. Decent on all this kind of statisticals that I'm looking at. not overwhelmingly, great across the board, but good enough for me. And if this more seems like a leverage play, but again, that's why he was kind of last 4 out, right on the bubble of what I'm looking at. Gut feel plays, Neiman price really 7,400. That's cheap enough that I don't have to expect much of him. He got a third at the BMW, played well there, didn't play particularly well at the Tour Championship, but he's had pretty good comeback. I mean, ever since the reboot, he's done fairly well overall. Missed the cut at Aaron Hills. That's the only U.S. Open he's played, and I want to say he's probably an amateur then, maybe. Or if it wasn't an amateur, it was his first right after he turned pro. 17th in my stat model, though, and that's what kind of gets me. He's 21st in good drive, 16th in great drive, 15th at three-putt avoidance, and he likes putting on quick greens. If you go back and look at it and some of the stuff I pulled in. So those are all things enough for me to like a 7,400 guy. Harris English, haven't played him at all, been completely off of him. During this, I felt like I missed the hot run, but, he's not been terrible. Even not, when he was, got second to DJ by 11. One thing I didn't even know, but last 3 U.S. Opens he played, he's made the cut. So 7,900, I was like, now it feels like a price I could, I can trust him to grind out and make pars. And if anybody got hot with their putter, it's him. He's done it over and over. 3-putt avoidance, he's third in the field. Stroke gain irons, he's fourth. He's not as good off the tee long term, but if you look really, really short term, his good drive and great drive numbers have been a lot better. I think he'll be one that spikes up in my model after the deep dive. So I like Harris English. Victor Hovland, nothing much to say there. I mean, I've been on him a lot. Not going to jump off that train. $8,000 flat. Finished 12th last year at his debut of U.S. Open. I think he technically was an amateur in that. I like Hovland. I'll play him. And then Fowler is kind of the gut feel there. I think I mentioned on the betting deals, like he loves fast greens. And if he can just, he was at one time one of the elite putters. He struggled with it recently, documented that he switched putters, switched grips, or, he's been just off some. He does play well in tough conditions in general. Aaron Hills, he got a 5th, then a 20th at Shinnecock. Last year, he got a 43rd, was much easier conditions. At 8,300, I feel like he probably maybe just gets jumped over. And so, again, that's why it's called gut feel. This is a gut feeling for me on him. 8,300, I'll have some in GPPs. Could get hot, and he's got that talent at 8,300. I mean, he could be there on Sunday. Now, is it more likely than not? No, but it's a risk reward deal in this type of format. So I like Fowler. Quickly on the potential sleepers, GPP flyers. Some of these I know will be talked about, but I don't know if any of these I would see even over 10% in this kind of field. Some will flirt with it. Dahman is going to be right there on that number, but I think he's a low owned guy that kind of stands out for me. Maybe get some leverage on someone like that. Bradley Keegan, definitely a guy that, especially when I'm thinking putting he's not going to be as defaulted on putting as much, that I like him. He doesn't have the best record in, U.S. Opens, but gut play, right? Potential. He may be 4. I don't know if he'll be 4%. So it's a GPP flyer type of deal. Davis Riley, he's on that Will level, Zalatoris type level, probably a slight step behind him, but he's going to be on tour one day. He's solid as well on the Corn Ferry. I like him. Ches Reavie, I like him. You think the name comes, but he doesn't strike you as off the tee really well. And my numbers support that. He's not, but last 3 U.S. Opens, the 16th at Aaron Hills, a missed cut and a 3rd. I mean, so he finds a way to get it done one way or the other. Probably not going to get himself in trouble a lot. He's 42nd in three-putt avoidance, so better third of the field. $6,900 worth of a flyer to me, if nothing else. Thomas Peters, bet him when he was kind of on in Euro quite a bit. I actually had a winning ticket on him at one point. I think I did, or maybe he's top 3, but I like Peters upside. More just flyer. He's not going to be more than 3 or 4% owned either. Horsfield, he'll probably be one of the Euros, gets talked up a lot. Lagausku Q as well will probably get talked up a lot. I don't mind either one of those. gets talked up, but they're still 6K, had no PGA stats, only going off Euro and Corn Ferry type stuff. You know, I don't see any of these guys being more than 5 or 6%, so all worth a flyer. Brandon Wu, a guy I like to back. You know, pretty good form coming in. I like him in general, flyer. And then Matthias Schwab is probably the last one that catches my eye right now. I'll probably put out a full kind of non-PGA Tour listing, Euro, Corn Ferry for the community, or something to that effect with the final rankings or asterisk that they're manually moved up because of what I researched. So that's kind of the last of the, you know, flyers and sleepers for me. As always, we go to our betting segment, brought to you by Monkey Knife Fight. Go to gupscorner.com/affiliates as well. When you see, you know, right underneath the Super Draft, click the link, or you can go to their website and use the promo code GUP, and you get 100% up to $50 on your first deposit. Put it into play, get it rolling, and, you know, whatever you want out, get back out. NFL's, you know, hot and heavy with them right now. I'll start covering NFL, you know, kind of picks or strategies on that a little this week. It's DFS implemented, but it's you're betting against them as almost like you would a book, instead of, you know, being in a pool, a GPP pool type deal or DFS pool. You know, you make some prop bets that you like against their book per se. So it kind of brings both sides into it, but, you know, we can all share the plays and picks because it's just like betting. We're not going up against each other. So it's always a great website. There tons of growth. They just bought Fantasy Draft. I don't know what they plan to do with it. Hope to have a call with the president this week. Actually been back and forth with him on a few messages. Want to grow that relationship with them, and they believe enough in our community. They really like our community. Had a little bit of issues with support, but I think that's been addressed. And so we'll get back rocking and rolling with those guys. So I'm looking forward to that. So betting strategy for me, 10 bets that kind of caught my eye out the board. If you want to listen to some full detail on the betting, kind of what I'm thinking this week, go check out the pod I did this morning. It's quick and easy. You put it on 1.5x. It'll probably take you, 20 minutes maybe. But I like Kim. I like Kokrak. I like Connors. I like Cantley. I like Matsu, Reed, Berger, Casey, Fleetwood, and Neiman. Much more focused on T5, T10, T20 type guys and numbers. And obviously the community will get those, tomorrow and Wednesday as they come out. I'm also interested in some books have been doing, and we hit it with Rom and DJ several weeks ago. I think at the Northern Trust, it's basically, if you're familiar with the horses, they do exacta box bets. So they'll give you pick two guys. So Johnson, DJ and Shoffley. And if they finish 1-2 in any order, it may pay, 40 to 1 or something like that. The DJ Rom one, which they were two of the highest price that week, paid 33 to 1. In a tournament like this, where a top heavy guy is most likely going to win, top 40 type guy, if I can catch a 33 to 40 to 1 ticket, I'm going to do that, because I'm not going to waste a ton of money on these 100, 150, 200, because the odds of those guys winning are low. But I may take those kind of guys, and that's where I want to do some top 20s, because I still get pretty good value on that. If I can get 2 or 3 guys inside the top 20, top 10, or maybe get one in the top 5, that could pay off well, as well. So it's going to be some of my strategy this week. Probably not as much bankroll and betting this week because of so much unknown. I want to save some money for live. Won't do as much tournament matchup. I'll probably do more tournament matchup than I would do daily. I won't do much daily at all. When there's this much craziness out there and they're shooting +6s and 8s and all that, I dial back to predict a one-day match. It's hard in itself. Then you bring all that into the situation. I don't want to do that and waste bankroll. And plus, we got NFL back, college football back. We're up on both those sports. College football's been fire last 2 weeks. We total bankroll, keeping that in mind for our community. So dial back a little bit on some of that golf stuff and try to get some good wins on these outright T20s, things like that. First round leader, maybe if you get a good, morning draw, the greens are pure type of deal, pick a couple guys in that situation as well. Don't forget your one and done this week. This is the final week of week 3. So, segment 3. So, if you're in it, you got to use a big guy. You're looking at DJ, Rom, JTX. If you have a chance to jump up and get in that payout for the segment, I think you got to go big. Or if you're still in the season, the full one, where you're still pretty good, I'd still use a big guy. If you're just like completely out of everything or way far, you're loading up for segment 4 only, then I'd go. This is a tournament. I think you could get a good skins play, not random guy, but a lesser known, talked about guys the people, because it's a big tournament, I think it is the biggest payout of the year. You want to use your big boys for that. I mean, it's just the logical thing to do. But if you're completely out, you're going to say, I'm going to try to win segment 4 because I got out of this early. Maybe it's a Siwoo Kim, a Kokrak, a Connors, a Hovland, a Hatton. Some of those kind of got Reed. Reed probably would get picked by a few people because you're really trying to find them, and no one wants to pick this guy this week, but he's got a good chance. So those are kind of guys I'm thinking there. Like I mentioned, Wednesday night, 4:30 Eastern, E9 with Kenny Kim. Should be absolute fire as usual when he's on. Looking forward to it. Tons of content coming out this week. One of the biggest weeks of the year so far for us. Appreciate everybody as I was stepped away for a little bit last week and got everything out, that we could without the technical difficulty stuff. But appreciate it. We're going to rock and roll this week. Like I mentioned, football 25, if you've hit all this, and it's a great week to get that premium access on Wednesday, no doubt. And then now we got college football, which is absolutely fire, betting and DFS. And then NFL, I went 2-2 yesterday, lost a little parlay, so 2-3 technically, but a little half-star parlay. But I got one tonight, so we can get back on above that. Small win on week 1, I'll take it because it looked like a lot of sharp people got, not exposed. They just had a bad day. I was on the Jaguars, one of the first bets I made, plus 7.5, plus 8. There was a lot of sharp guys I respect that were on the Colts, maybe a little nervous, but bad week 1 for a lot of guys. At least we got a chance to be ahead, potentially break even. College football's up. Everything's going great there. So I'm looking forward to that. Had one of the biggest 6-8 weeks run I've had in quite some time, up over 50 units total in that time. Was down on the year after July, which was, terrible, obviously. Now climbed all the way back out of that. We had a great August. So looking forward to all that continuing on. We got great things ahead. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you Wednesday night. Have a good night.
SmashFactor.